welcome to Life with Libby Joy. I'm your host, Libby Joy, and we are excited to see you on this podcast as we journey through life together. This podcast is to inform and to encourage and inspire women to live their lives, this journey of life, with joy. And on this podcast, you can expect to hear information that will encourage you about issues that you go through, challenges, successes, and how really truly to live life with joy. I'll try to focus the best I can on all the different things that are a part of womanhood, which is a whole lot of issues. So each week we'll do a topic and really explore it. I'll invite wonderful people on to explain how they went through their journey and how they lived out all of their challenges and successes with joy. So that's what we do here at Life with Libby Joy. And today's episode is exciting for me because for the first time ever on my show, it's only the third one, I have a guest on today. And we are not going to do hot topics like we normally do. We're going to forego hot topics today just so I can invite my friend Jennifer to come on and say hello to everyone and share with us some great things about herself. And we're going to get into a great conversation today on friendship. And before she begins and says a little bit about herself, I'm just going to just be real honest with you all. I always used to say these phrases that I don't like women. I don't really have any friends. I don't really go places. I don't do the Valentine's or the Galentine's days. I am not on a boat or a nice island with a gorgeous dress with five other different friends taking pictures. And so I just never thought I was really into having lots of friends, at least female friends. And so that was what I used to say about friendship. However, as I've gotten older, I realize I have lots of women I love and I'm connected to. I have a lot of people I cherish and I do have great conversations and great times with. I just didn't have the same concept of friendship from when I was younger. And those things do change. Your concepts of friendships change, as we'll talk on our episodes today. So I'm not going to say I don't like women anymore because I love women. And women, we are some of the most beautiful creatures, some of the most fascinating individuals, and the best kind of friends. We are those creatures. So, with that all being said, I'm going to show you or explain to you a little bit about my concept of friendship today. And I'm also going to really get into how I view myself as a friend. And then I want to find out from a friend of mine how she views me. So I said, well, let me bring on my best friend. And I will say over 20 plus years that will date her because she doesn't look like she could be 20. Because everywhere you go, she is still carded just because they say, are you sure you can get to this movie? And so, but we've been friends for over 25 years. And so I just want you to please welcome Jennifer. She is from Chicago. That's where I'm from. And that's how we organically met. And we've connected throughout the years, but we've done life together. We've raised children together. And we both have grownish children now. Yay! We dream to this day. And so please welcome her to our podcast family today. And she is not going to be interviewed today, but I've asked her to be my co-host on this conversation. So thank you again, Jennifer, for coming. I really do appreciate you. I enjoy doing life with you, and so I know today's Life with Libby Joy is going to be great. So let's get right into it about this friendship stuff. Tell us about yourself, Jennifer.
Woo! So, as you said, I am from Chicago and I am Jennifer. I am living my 2.0 life at this point. So, I am a lifelong learner with a passion for both travel and for mental health.
Mm,
I say I keep my passport in one hand and a good book in the other because I really do enjoy learning and I enjoy travel. I have three adult children at this point. I've been in mental health for over 2 decades. And I'm working on marrying mental health and travel to do some entrepreneurship and some business and just to grow and to continue to explore as much of the world as possible, as well as just rebranding and reorganizing my business. So that's where I am. That's me.
that's her. Well, we're going to get right into it. We're going to talk about this friendship thing. I want to just mention again, I have a mentor that says if you have five great friends, you've done a lot in life. And so, just to start our conversation, let's define the word. What is friendship, Jennifer? What is friendship to you?
To me, friendship is those people that can really hold you up when you're down. You have a lot
Mhm.
of people that can just be around. I really classify people. There are people who are associates, there are people who are acquaintances, and then there are people who are in your inner circle. And when you say that number five, I can truly, truly embrace that. I was told when I was much younger that you can count the number of friends you have on one hand. And I thought that I knew better than that. I thought that doesn't make much sense because everybody's my friend. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that everybody's not my friend. There are people that I'm around that we may have something in common, but when it comes down to those hard times, they're not people that I can count on. So when
Mhm.
I say somebody is my friend, I take that very seriously. Those are definitely people that have been through life situations with me and have walked with me and been able to walk through. And what I realize is that the people that I call friend, we've had to go through some hard times. And our friendship has endured that. I feel like that's really the mark of a friend is having to go through those challenging times and grow together and then figure out how do we keep choosing to be friends.
I like that. And I was going to say that that's a person that you can be very vulnerable around. You can show them who you are. There's nothing you have to hide or keep secret. Not that you tell everybody everything or all your information to one person, but yet you still feel like you can truly be who you are authentically. You aren't embarrassed by who you are. Even the silliness or your quirks or your bad habits, or just or things you're like, yeah, I don't need the world to see this, but that person you're okay with, and even the icky times, like when
Hmm.
you're getting sick in the middle of a public place. Yeah, we have a backstory, and your friend holds your hair. That's how I define my friends, Jennifer. If my friend can hold my hair when I'm getting sick in a public place, I was with child at the time, just FYI. But those are the people that I consider friends that are able to do life with you, like you said, in the most difficult parts of time. So that's friendship. And while I'm not going to mention, Facebook, but when we say Facebook friends, that's a different association. It doesn't mean that they're your best friends, but those are people you are in community with. There are also people on different Instagram and all the other different great social media platforms. Those are the people that you're connected to. There are people at work that you're connected to. And so you have different places. And I think with the maturity or actually becoming a mature person, I'm starting to realize that unlike childhood, which we'll go to in a minute, your friendship group is just different. It just
Hmm.
is. Friendship groups when you were younger, everybody on the playground who was great with you was your friend, right? My dad used to say when I would go to high school, I would hug everybody before I got to the door. So yeah, those were all of my friends. I don't even know why I would hug everybody. He said you hugged everybody from the front of the line to the back. It's like those are my friends. Well, that was high school.
But you are
So
a
the
hugger, so.
I am a hugger. You're right. I don't hug everybody nowadays. I'm getting a little more restricted. And then I ask people if they like hugs because before it was just like you're gonna grab them, but now I at least ask you. At least I ask you for your permission to be in your space. Now I'm getting older. I understand that everybody doesn't want to hug and everybody's not a hugger. I won't mention one person in particular that's very close to me, but she always tells me I'm not a hugger, mom. I just outed her. Okay. Well, anyway, everybody's not a hugger. Sorry, daughter of mine. Everybody's not a hugger. And you do have to, you have to have that relationship and you have to,
Mhm.
have permission. So let's move along because we can be here all day with that. The next question I wanted just to talk to you about, and this is the matured conversation, is has you experienced with your friends, at least specifically from your past, like high school or elementary, college, even 10 years ago. How has those relationships matured? Have they evolved, become better friendships? Have they dissolved? They're no longer there. What do you think about relationships over periods of time? That's probably what my conversation. What do you think about that over periods of time?
I think I've actually experienced both. I've had some that have evolved and people that have come along with me, and as well as some
Hmm.
that have dissolved. I will say, live by when people show you who they are, believe them.
Yeah,
I
that's
really
good.
like to give people the benefit of the doubt, but I'm also
Hmm.
at a point in life that I am a little bit more firm about my boundaries and what I believe.
Hmm.
And there are some things that you can do that, okay, we can remain friends and we can have a conversation. And then there are some other things that show me that we're not in the same space. Our friendship isn't necessarily aligned. It doesn't mean that I have to hate you. It doesn't mean that I have to not talk to you. But it means that you may not be in the same space for me to actually call you friend. And I'm okay with that being the case. Like I
Hmm.
can actually, you can change position. So we
Right.
drive cars. When this lane is not moving along, people are stopping for whatever reason. We shift lanes. And I think we have to be willing sometimes to shift in friendship when things change. Sometimes we're friends based on life and life situations. And sometimes those things change. You have to make some major shifts sometimes. And I will say,
Hmm.
particularly over the last few years, some of my friends have actually changed. And
Hmm.
I'm okay with that. I had to make some life changes, and with that came some friendship changes. And I knew that that was part of the process. But it's like at the end of the day, I had to make the decision based on what was best for me, and not that I can't still love those people and have different relationship with them, but I can definitely say that the friendship has changed. And that's okay. Sometimes, like I said, life situations change and everybody doesn't go with you.
Yeah, and if you haven't already noticed, those that are listening, Jennifer is so laid back and so mature with her answers. She's so calm with her spirit all the time. Whereas people like me would be like, "You're not my friend anymore. Why are you not my friend?" That would be my response. Like, what's happened? What did I do wrong? What was going on? And yet, be honest with you, I'm really not the one to call. I'm not the one picking up phones. So when people are distancing themselves from you, I mean, sometimes it's because of even what you are either not providing, or like you said, you're not in their lane anymore. You're not in the same space. The book we're going to get to in a few minutes, we've been talking about with the let them theory, is really, really, really gave me some ahas about friendship. I do want to talk about that in a second. But I do want to talk about your boundaries. Like, what are some of your like no, like we can't be friends? Do you have like strong boundaries for your friendship circles? And I'm talking more inner circle because I know you can have friends that or people who are acquaintances or connected to you. But I mean more like your inner circle. Do you have strict boundaries, or would you like to just share a couple of them just to help us out for those who are trying to make sure we define ourselves in good ways?
So for me, it's really the growth aspect. At this point,
Mhm.
I have to be growing in life. And if everything that we do is the same as what we did 30 years ago, I'm too old for that. So that's one thing, but it's also the space of, can we be honest and transparent?
Yeah.
I am, as you say, brutally honest, and I'm willing to hear and entertain um, how I say things. But at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you the truth. And
Yeah.
it's not because I want to be mean. I tell people the truth in love. Everybody can't tolerate that. So how I actually tell people the truth sometimes depends on who you are. But at the end of the day, you can count on, I'm going to tell you the truth. You may not like the truth, but I'm going to tell you the truth in love. And that's because I feel like I want to see people grow. I'm moving forward. I want to make sure that, if I'm doing something, I would want somebody to tell me, hey, this is an area that you need to grow in. Because
Mhm.
sometimes we can't see ourselves. We look at ourselves in the mirror every single day and we see the same thing. We see the same person. But even over time, we've grown and evolved, and there are things about us that have changed that unless somebody says, you changed in this area, we may not realize it. So I like friends who can actually be open and honest with me and have conversations. And that means having a tough conversation sometimes. Even you and I think our friendship grew when we had to have a tough conversation. And we both had our feelings about it, but we were able to have a respectful conversation. We had all our girl feelings involved, but we were able to have a respectful conversation and hear each other out. And I feel like at the end of the day, we both learned something. For me, if we can't have those conversations, we can't really be friends because those are necessary conversations for growth of friendship and as a person. And I want people surrounding me now that want to grow and want to help me grow as well.
Well, and not to get too much of our business out there on these streets, but one thing I will say about you, Jennifer, is that when I was upset, and we won't go hash over whatever, you reaching out to speak to me even showed me that you were my friend, because I know who you are, and I know if someone has crossed a boundary level, you know how to say I'm done with you. And so well, I am not usually one of those people who ignore or don't whatever, but I was so in my feelings, I just didn't have anything nice to say. And my mother has taught me over and over, if you don't have nice things to say, just don't say anything. So there was a moment that I didn't know what to say. And when we did finally talk, shout out to chocolate covered Oreos. When we did start to talk, that is my memory. That has defined every time I see them. I go, oh, that's
Yes,
when
we
me and
know
Jennifer
some.
had our right. I'm in my feelings and not the Oreos. Like, oh, that's when me and Jennifer had our conversation. She invited me for a chocolate covered Oreo, and then I knew we were friends. but but
Especially if I shared a chocolate covered Oreo with you. We're definitely friends.
you shared it, and I know how you are, and I know you know how I am about chocolate, so we were good. But even hashing out conversations like that is very, very helpful. And you mentioned you being brutally honest, and I am very sensitive about everything I say because I am a sensitive person. So I'm very careful with what I say because I don't want to hurt people's feelings. Unfortunately, sometimes that alludes for me not really giving the honest truth of how I feel about a situation. And so as I'm maturing, and I am maturing, I realize that I have the emotional intelligence, besides reading books about it, but I am growing in my emotional intelligence. I'm growing in my ability to be able to have conversations. I still get sensitive about sometimes how people respond to me until I read the book we're going to talk about. And now I'm realizing I can do that because sometimes you do have to let people be who they are. Actually, all the time, you have to let people be who they are because that's all they are going to be is themselves. And you have to learn how to be who you are. And so I used to want to be, I'm going to just tell everybody here, I used to want to be like Jennifer as far as being able to emotionally move and shift, like she mentioned. But I can't do it in that way. I can only do it in the way I can do it. And that's okay. And it's okay to accept that you are who you are and you were made like that
Mhm.
for a reason. I was made with sensitivity for a reason. It helps me with the caring of others. It helps me with how I respond to children. It helps with the patience that I have. And it's just who I am. I was born that way. So it's okay to be sensitive. But I do need to learn my boundaries to be able to guard my sensitivity. And that's what I'm learning in this season of my life, being able to guard my sensitivity and realize everybody is not for me, and that's fine. And I'm not for everybody, and that's also okay. I said I was going to get a
Mhm.
t-shirt like that, but I think that sounds like I'm being I'm being mean when I say I'm not for everybody. You're not for me either. Like it's not a mean thing. It's true. Okay. All right. All righty. So let's move. Just I mentioned about uh, the Mel Robbins book, The Let Them Theory. And I mentioned this to you the other day about like, what was your thoughts about friendship? And you mentioned her book, and I was like, okay, I definitely have to read it. And I did. So I'm truly excited, almost all of it. I have like two more chapters I will finish the end of this week. But the ones that I've read are just amazing, and specifically about the friendship. So let's talk about that. What did you think and take away from friendship with the Let Them theory by Mel Robbins? What was your thoughts about that?
I really love the concept. Overall, I love the book. But she
Hmm.
mentioned Facebook and social media and how sometimes social media can actually influence us to feel like we're missing out or that we're outside of the friendship circle with
Hmm.
people that we're not even in the friendship circle with currently. So when we see things, we'll say, well, they planned a trip and nobody told me. I wasn't involved. You haven't talked to them in 5 years. Why do
Yeah.
you even care? But we often, because we see things, we feel like, well, I must be left out. And if I am, I realize through that, like, that's okay. Like, I'm not talking to those people anyway.
Hmm.
I have mixed feelings about social media because it allows us to feel like we're connected to so many people across the globe, which I think is great in theory, except for it creates a false sense of intimacy with people that you don't talk to and don't really have real relationships with, but yet you have this insight into their lives or whatever they
Hmm.
share about their lives on social media. So you feel like you're in some way connected when sometimes you're not. So it just kind of reframed what I allow to come into my consciousness on social media and to just be very mindful of the fact that that's an avenue. But the people that are genuinely my friends, I won't say are not my Facebook friends, but I talk to them more than just seeing them on Facebook. So it really solidified that genuine friendship for me and really paying attention to those people who I'm actually in relationship with. Facebook is just kind of it's like to me, it's a false intimacy. So,
Hmm. Yeah. And for me, I was sharing with you, and I was talking about in the beginning of this episode that I don't do the Galentine's Day, and I do those fun girl trips with all the beautiful dresses. And you mentioned to me that the dresses weren't packed in their suitcases, that people rent those at the beach. And I and I was like, what? They rent those? And not to say it's not a genuine experience. I think it just solidified again for me that my images of things were skewed, and that I didn't have the right perception of those things. I do have friends that I, go out to eat with and have coffee with and talk, and we may not go on trips, and that's okay. Or we may one day go on a trip because the future is still the future. That's
hmm
okay. But we can't measure our friendships based off of what we see other people and their friends doing. We can't have that kind of comparison. And we will talk about Mel Robbins' book some more. And I'm going to invite you on another podcast specifically to talk about that book. That's how much I love that book. But we can't live our life in comparison. Our friendship circles are not comparison circles. You may have three great friends. I may have eight. Oh, okay. It doesn't matter the number or the size or the quantity. It really is the quality. It's really what is that doing for your life? And
hmm
that's really what I wanted the takeaway from this whole episode is what does friendship do to bring the joy in your life? That's my whole podcast concept that you have to enjoy the journey with joy. What do friends bring to that experience? And then I'm going to ask you a really personal question before we get out of here. All right. What does friendship do as far as your life? What do you think it adds? How does it add joy or value to your life?
I will say it adds a lot of joy and a lot of value. For me, I think when I was younger, I thought similar to you. I don't like girls. I don't really want to be bothered. Just lots of drama, lots of things. So I'll say I had some girlfriends, but I didn't have a whole lot. I could
Mm,
actually communicate with guys a lot better. They were less drama, just less.
mhm,
So what I've realized though, as I've gotten older, life changes again. You have to figure out, okay, life will bring you challenges. And at a certain point in life, you have to figure out, how do I get through these challenges? And it's not
mm,
that you just get through on your own. At this point in life, I think in your 40s and 50s, you're probably sandwiched between, if you have children, you're sandwiched between your children and your parents. And
mhm.
that's a whole thing in itself. You need a
Yes.
support group for both. then that's where your friends come in. If
Mm.
you are married at this point in life, there are people who that's a whole different journey, and friends come in there. I'm in a category where I'm not currently, I am divorced. So friends come in there. So it taught me, even through that process, like being open to new friends. Because in my 20s, I was like, no new friends. I don't do new people. I don't do new things. I'm just not open. So I think in going through the journey of life, it has taught me that yes, I have some people in my life. I value those people, but there are also other people out there. I need to be open to new people and new opportunities. And by nature, I'm extremely curious. I like meeting people. I like having really great conversations. But I'm also reluctant to be vulnerable to say, do I really want this person to actually be my friend?
Right.
And I've learned since I've been over 40 that I can actually open myself up to meeting new people. I can have new experiences. I can go new places. I can do new things. And it doesn't change my friendships. And sometimes I meet really cool people. So over the last few years, I've had the opportunity to meet some really cool people that I wouldn't have met if I were just
To
kind
have
of
traveled.
limited to
Hmm.
my own circle and my own space. And that closed-minded of sense of not meeting any new friends. Um,
Mm.
just because I have five people and actually some of those five now are people that I've more recently met. But I wouldn't have met them if I didn't have that mind shift of being more open and curious and saying, you know what? It takes courage to actually put yourself out there to make friends over 40 because most of us want to just kind of stay in our own little bubble. Like my
Yes.
bubble is comfortable. I don't really want you in my bubble. But I find that the friends that I've made at this point in life, even though it's not something that I was actively seeking, they bring value in a different way. So they bring value, they bring joy. But for me, I think I felt like if I haven't known you my whole life, I don't want to know you at this point. And I realize that that's such a narrow point of view, but you know me, I'm pretty logical, pretty rational. Like, okay, this works for me. I know these people and I'm comfortable with them. So at this point, I'm
Mm.
just really just exploring the new and really exploring the journey and enjoying the journey and enjoying the new. And like I said, that brings new friends as well.
And let me say this: Mel Robbins' book also brought that concept of us seeking out new people in our 40s and 50s and 60s, and like being intentional about it. And that when we were in school, we would come to class and there would be all these people and we would all be doing life
Yes.
together. But when you're older, you actually have to be intentional. And I agree with you that that is a struggle. But if you don't get out there and get those new experiences, you would have never met the new people. Even when I shift jobs, I've also shifted states. I went from one state to another. I had to shift jobs. I had to meet new people, and
Hmm.
I have met some people now that are amazing, that are part of my circle and be for different reasons. You
Hmm.
mentioned your status change. You were married and now you're divorced or single. And so that is a different change. And so you're going to have friends that have done that kind of life with you. I can't
Hmm.
I can't speak to being a divorced woman at this age. I can't. I can only speak to you from being a woman. So you have friends that can speak to that. And I have to reconcile even with that. It's okay. Jennifer has more than just me. I don't like that. But okay. No. I'm just being transparent here. How we can be sometimes that our friendship circles do change and do broaden because of life changes. And it's
Hmm.
okay. And adding all this stuff does add value to your life. It adds new experiences. I just saw one of my friends from college took a trip by herself. And I was just like, that's joy. I just went to a trip by myself. It was exciting. I've never done that before, since I've been married. I hadn't. And it brought me joy to be able to say I could do those things. Although
Yes.
I don't want to do those often because I want my husband to come everywhere I go. And I'm not just saying that because he is listening right now behind the scenes. I really do want my husband to go everywhere I go. But I'm saying it was good for me to be able to take back some of that independence that I
Hmm.
had, and to say, oh, this is, Libby. I can do this. So I'm glad you said all these things. Before we leave, though, I did say I was going to ask a personal question because this brings me back to the reason why I was concerned about friendship. A friend in college once said to me, when I was concerned about why some people were friends closer to me than others, she asked me, "What kind of friend are you, and what are you expecting your friends to be?" And she mentioned, which is a very deep statement, this young lady, even at all of 20, 21, had very good emotional intelligence. And she said to me, what you give to friendship is not always what you'll get back from friendship. And so when you're expecting your friends to be exactly like you are, that can be part of your problem. And so then I asked myself the question of, well, what kind of friend am I? And so I've asked my friends, and so I'm asking you publicly to be honest. She has 100%, 100% no. I mean, I didn't tell her, don't tell her, share about this, don't share about that. 100% can be whatever she wants to say about me. What kind of friend am I? And this is just a self evaluation that sometimes you have to do. What kind of friend do you think I am? And go ahead.
I would say
I'm ready.
you're ready. You're ready. You got it.
Right, I'm holding on.
I would say
Okay.
you're a supportive friend, but as you've already said, you are sensitive. So what I'll say even about our friendship is that that has forced me to be mindful with my words
Mm,
because I've been around myself my entire life. Again, reflection mirror. To
mm-hmm,
me, say it and move along. You can't say it like that to everybody and move along. So having friends that kind of hold up mirrors for me helped me to see, okay, just because I want the honesty and I want it quick doesn't mean that
mm,
that's the way that everybody wants to be communicated with, or
good.
even that people don't have different sensitivities. And I won't say that even that the way I communicate has come from a healthy place. We all have
Mm,
some dysfunctional patterns. So having friends who are sensitive, like I said, really helps me to figure out, okay, how do I temper what I have to say and say it in a way that it can be well received so that we can have conversations. But I
mm,
would say you're definitely a very strong friend. You're very supportive. Um, you are highly spiritual, and that is an asset. You don't, all of your friends, you can't say, I need you to pray for me. There are
yeah.
some friends that you know you're going to have a conversation, and as much as you love them, that conversation may not get prayed for, but it may get discussed.
Mm,
So what you say to those friends, you select. You are a friend that I know I can come to in confidence, and you'll be there. You'll listen. You listen without judgment. You provide feedback, and you provide structure. I can say I don't always like what you have to say, and you know that. You don't always like what I have to say either, but I know it comes from a place of being truthful, and
mm,
you are one of the people who is definitely a mirror for me. So when I am going through things in my own mind, I can justify all kinds of things. And you'll very nicely say to me, but XYZ for you, and this is what you have you thought about this?
mhm,
So I appreciate that. We've been friends for quite a long time, and I can't say that there's ever been a time that I needed you for something and you weren't there.
mm.
So I think you are a great friend.
Well, thank you for those kind words. Yay, I know. I was like, okay now. She said she's gonna be honest. And I will say the same for you. And yes, some of your words are strong, and it's okay because I tell you that's a strong word. Sometimes I say you're mean, but that's I just say that in I say
You
that
say
in
most
jest.
of the time.
Yeah, I do say it, but I'm jesting. I'm just playing. I mean, you can be mean, but I'm just playing. Um, so yeah. So but anyway, what I was gonna say is I also agree. You're very supportive. Anything I've ever need, any emotion or concern I have, I call you. You're listening, you're right there. You're also very spiritual. You'll pray for me and support me. I like to have fun with you. I've never been on a jet ski until I met you because you want to do some adventurous things, and I want to do those things with you. We tease ourselves and say we're Thelma and Louise, but we're just not going off cliffs. But we do get on speed boats, and I threw out are we going to jump out of a plane on you? And
This
you're like,
year,
oh, yeah, okay.
this year
She
we
said this year we're jumping off of the plane. Oh, ooh, okay.
are. The year.
All right. I made sure I'll do my podcast before. And we'll see. My hair will be all windblown. No. Maybe I can do my
That's
podcast
okay.
jumping while I'm jumping, coming to you live while I'm jumping. But anyway, that's the kind of friend you are. You push my boundaries, you challenge my mind. You love to read. I love to read. But you actually really do read. I do so many other things. I'm like, okay, and you tell me about a great book. I try to grab the great book. You've read it already. You've already discussed it. and you're on to the next one. So I'm trying to keep up. I'm trying to keep up. And I love that because I enjoy it. I love talking about reading and learning new information. I am also a lifetime learner. So that's exciting. And I think you are a great friend. I wish you many more years of joy, and I will see you again. Like I said, she's going to be on in a probably a few podcasts from this because we're going to discuss this book, The Let Them Theory, because I got such joy out of it and I want to share it with you. And I was telling her after she read it, she said it. And I said, okay, I'm going to read it. And then I was like, oh my goodness, I love it too. And then I wanted to talk with someone about it. And of course, you're the one I asked. Can we talk about this book? And of course, we'll do that. I think book clubs are in my future. I really do. I think that would be so much fun to do book clubs. Well, that's a lot
Hmm.
of conversation, and I was supposed to do all the takeaways and rewriting. I have not written one thing, but here are some of the main takeaways I received from today. That friendship is just that is a place with people who really truly take value in you, who share your time, who are with you ups and downs. They keep your secrets. They encourage your heart. They cry with you when you're in tears. They laugh with you when you're laughing. And then they try to make you laugh even when you're crying sometimes. They're that kind of friend. They're right by your side. They're always there to support. Your friendship circle may change because of situations and circumstances in life. Proximity, I know that's one of the big ones that happen. Sometimes you're so close to someone, you see them every day in the carport, and then you may move away and you may not see them as often. It doesn't mean they're not your friends, even if you don't see them every day, but still pick up a phone and call. Just because they're not in your inner circle anymore doesn't mean they're not a part of your circle. And so make sure that you cherish your friendships, right? Value them, cultivate them, reach out and grab more friendships and more experiences. That's what I got from this time sharing with you today. I also had so much fun. I think this is the most relaxed I've been, and it's because I'm with such a great person and friend. So thank you again, Jennifer, for co-hosting with me today and sharing with me about. So we'll do another episode talking about the Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. And so I'm excited, like that Grey's Anatomy thought about finding your person. I'm glad I found one of my persons in you. And if you don't have a person, you need to find one person at least. If you have five, that's great. If you have a circle of abundance of acquaintances, love on them too. Everybody who brings joy to your life, keep them around because you need all the joy you can get with this journey called life. And with that, I thank you for sharing today's episode. And we will see you again next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I keep forgetting to say that because some of you all are far away and you have to come on a little bit earlier, but that's okay. Whenever you catch me, it's great. And remember to enjoy the journey of life.